Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron Patrick and Johann Goree. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant, episode number 42. The date is the 7th of August, 2023, and we have a cracking episode, maybe even a juicy episode lined up for you today. We are proudly sponsored by Employment Hero, and we are very proudly, and we do know their name, don't worry, but more on them later. My name is Aaron Patrick, and with me, as always, is my co-host, but in a whole new venue or area or office. Johann, how's your weekend been? It looks like it's been a busy one.
It's been a very busy one. Thank you very much, Aaron. Yes, so last week, about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon, the building team signed off the office and handed it over to me, gave me my electrical certificate, so I know it's all safe and sound. And from that point onwards, I've been installing everything. So still a bit of work to do, like lighting and stuff behind me is not great, so I still need to work on that. And today is like the first day of work, so you can make it all look pretty, but is it practical? That's the big question. So we answer all of those questions today. And then on top of that, I was at the military tattoo on Saturday night and then enjoying the Fringe on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, very busy weekend. I'm looking forward to getting into work and having a bit quieter week.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's looking good. It is looking good. I know we said off air, didn't we? There's a few bits still to bring it up. I know everyone's going to be looking at the background now, see what made it over to the shelf or not. See, didn't make
One
it.
supplier didn't. We'll discuss that.
One notable supplier is not there. But yeah, no, it's looking good, and we're looking forward to seeing what the updates are going to be. It's it's an upgrade, isn't it? You've gone from your spare bedroom now to your shed quarters, so yeah, it's looking good. Were you inspired by Ashley Lee's? That's probably the question that's going to come through the comments anytime now.
I've been inspired by quite a few places, but the bit that I really took from my podcast with Ashley was his being stood up. So that's it. I'm here. I'm stood up. I've got an office chair behind me just in case. But both desks are stand-up desks. This is the first time I've had stand-up desks, and I'm really liking them. Although I was stood up for like 6 hours doing all the cabling and setting everything up on Saturday night, I was ruined. I felt like I'd been at the conference all day. So I'm hoping though, by being stood up so long, I'm now going to be in a fantastic shape and fitness ready for the conferences. So conferences don't hurt me anymore like they used to.
So how long is it going to be until you get one of those treadmills underneath your desk? Or is that a step too far?
You say that. I have looked. I don't think I value my health at 350 to 600 pounds. So I'm already looking at one of those anti-fatigue mats. I can't decide if it's a con or if it's actually going to make any difference. So I'll give it a week or two like this. Then I might get a mat to see if that improves things.
Yeah, we'll see. Because if you continue yours, I'll have to move mine to standing as well, and join the trend with you. So I have the option. It is there.
All these standing desks are great, and the fact that you can adjust them, and that all sounds like amazing, doesn't it? Yeah, you find cable management systems that work with an adjustable height of desk. That's just ridiculous. No, I hate cable management at the best of times, but Christ.
Yep, it gets even worse. Right, as always, we have our comments are live and ready for you guys. You guys are what's making this show. Your comments are what bring everyone in. So thank you very much for coming along. If you are available, then we go live 8:30 a.m. every single Monday for your comments. And we get people like the wonderful Kirsty saying good morning, Kirsty, and the wonderful Paul. Good morning, Paul. Is that sunshine I see up north? You see, this is the best thing about this new view. We are going to get live weather updates on what's going on in the world of Scotland.
You also realise the whole of winter, it looks like I'm going to be filming at night. because we won't get the sunrise till 9 o'clock. Yes, no, it is partially cloudy and sunny. There we go. Brand new feature to Ask the Accountant podcast, Edinburgh Weather Live.
Yeah. Is that a hot tub we see in the back as well? Is that a hot tub behind you?
A bit of a redundant one, but yes.
Okay. So then we'll see that's another
Today's
good
energy
indication
prices.
of how sunny it's been if the hot tub's been used. Kirsty's loving the office. Yeah, we are as well. Looking absolutely brilliant. Matthew's on as well. Morning both. Office looking good. Yep, it certainly is. Sarah says, do it. Treadmill ideal. And you'll get them for around £220. Very precise. There, 220. That's how much there's your
Sarah,
budget.
send me the link.
Yeah. And because this could be a recurring feature, we could both start on a treadmill if you want to. I'm happy to get mine from downstairs. I have a mat. They're great. Wife pinches it for the kitchen all the time. Okay, so obviously it helps cook as well. So that could be a good one to bring in. Kevin says it does take a while to get used to standing desks. I've had mine for a few years now. So a standing desk advocate there by Kevin. Love it. Jody says, thanks for the weather update. Yep, this is the best thing about the new office. I think we've all agree. This is it. This is what the new office brings.
The weather's nothing compared to South Africa, I'm sure, Jody.
It's comparable, right? Like, Edinburgh, South Africa, we expect different ones. Sam says, Johann, are there fringe acts I would recommend so far? It wasn't just me, it's fine. Don't worry, Sam. It's my fault as well.
I only went to see one on the weekend, and that was one I do every year at the start of the Fringe, which is called 101 Comedy Club, and it's in a basement of a pub, but it's a really nice pub. They do really nice hand-pulled ciders, but it's basically, think of BBC Apollo, and you won't go far wrong. So they bring in lots of different acts to do a bit of a sample of their own shows, and they're all startup comedians. So you feel like you're supporting the new guys on the block. And that was really good on Sunday. And it's led to us basically booking 2 shows a weekend for the rest of August to fit in all of the new guys that we want to go and see, because they were all quite funny. So there's an Irish one. There's a guy who's been dubbed the rock and roll Peter Kay. So lots of really good acts looking like this year. So I'm looking forward to those.
Very jealous. I think, again, it's a big perk of being there. We have one bad bit of feedback, though. Thanks both. Totally influenced to purchase a standing desk now.
I just felt your wallet clinch.
No, well, thanks to you, that's now going through the Ask the Accountant expenses. No, moving on. Ben Gibbs, morning, gents. Loving the new office. And now known as the Weather Studio. I think that name's sticking, to be honest. Yeah. So it's not a shared quarters; it's the Weather Studio. Yes, and we'll talk about the standing desk purchase later. All right. So we have a very juicy topic available for you today. As always, as soon as we stop rolling the show, news starts to erupt, and it was quite a significant piece of news this time around. There has been some price increases that I think everyone needs to be aware of, and I think we already are aware of it, right? Like, this conversation is more about talking about the impact as opposed to breaking news. So if you are not, or if you are living under a rock, you may not have heard that Dext has increased their prices. Now, before we go into the main juicy part of the conversation and talk about it, let's just kind of give a bit of an update of what's happening. Effectively, they are killing some of their legacy subscription models. That's what I've got. For clarification, I stopped using Dext a while ago, so I am kind of sitting here on my up in my ivory tower, being smug and everything else. I'm not really, but yeah, I kind of, my opinions are probably less weighted in this conversation than Johann's, because I know Johann himself has an active subscription with the guys. But yeah, they've
becoming less active.
But they have definitely looked at putting a price increase there. We've had various the biggest problem is it's the way it's been communicated, and we'll definitely talk about it. But the fact is that not everyone's fully understanding of what their prices are going to be. You need to book in some time with your business development manager, find out exactly. There's no online tool to figure out what it is. If there was a tool, I think a lot of these conversations wouldn't be happening at this point in time. But I've got some examples of what's happening here. I've got someone going from £6,500 per year all the way up to £29,000 a year. And they've got roughly 600 clients. We've got examples of people doubling. We've got people who are going from, a few £100 a month to a couple of £1,000 a month. Like, we are seeing some significant increase in prices. Now, before I pass to Johann again, we'll have much more of an insight on what's going on being a customer of theirs. From my point of view, I agree that their prices will at some point need to increase. I think the level of service that they did definitely offer was warranted of a price increase, and inflation and everything else. Us as accountants, we're telling our clients at this point in time, you should be increasing your price. You should be looking at annual price increases as much as you can. As an accountancy firm, we should be looking to implement the same. So I completely understand a price increase. What I'm confused about here, and hopefully you can tell us a bit more what happened, but it seems like communication was non-existent, and it was just some sort of post or something that came out. And it seems like the price increase was substantial enough that people are just not being able to afford it, or at least not be able to bring it into something that is affordable for their clients going forward. Because in theory, and I think this is maybe where we've been caught out in the past, but in theory, we should be passing these costs on to our clients. And this shouldn't be a conversation topic of if the firm could afford it, but if the clients can afford the price increase of the service that's happening. But I don't feel like that's the case. So, Johann, do you want to give us a kind of rundown of where you are and what actually happened from your point of view as a customer?
Yeah, so basically, I knew this was coming the week before it got announced. Not because I got tipped off by Dext or anything like that, but as you can imagine, Aaron and I are on a lot of different WhatsApp groups and Slack groups. We're well connected in the industry. So the week before, it transpires some of the account managers at Dext were basically ringing up and cautioning some of their favorite clients, and saying, look, there's something big coming price-wise. It's a big change. Be ready. So we could have leaked this and exposed them on Monday last week, but I chose to keep it professional and not do that. Tuesday morning arrives and we get an email. It's price increases. We're going to stop charging all these different prices we've got, and we're going to go to a per client basis, where the more clients you've got, the cheaper it gets per client. If you want to know your pricing, contact your account manager. So, yeah, everyone's left blind, but I already knew, based on other conversations I'd had the week before, it was going to be big. So I tried getting hold of my account manager. Could I heck? I think he had a horrible day, quite frankly. Certainly did once I'd spoken to him. So looked around socials, and everyone was talking and saying, right, I've got this. What have you got? What's everyone else got? So it wasn't all this transparency that we were told it was going to be. Anyway, I calculated it. I reckoned I was going to be between 60 and 62% price increase based on what I was seeing. So I posted that on LinkedIn saying I'm not happy. You've checked. Like, I'm more than happy for a price increase. Like inflation, as you say, Aaron. Xero put their prices up. It was inflation based. But 60+% is not inflation. And I've seen worse. As you said, there's people out there that have got bigger increases than that. So, funnily enough, I then got a call off my account manager correcting me because I was incorrect. How do you know this? You've not spoken to me. It's like, well, it's not for a lack of trying. And to be fair to me, not to him, but to me, I'd been trying to call him for over a week to try and confirm the rumors I was hearing. So anyway, we sat down, we did the phone call. We worked it out like for like. I was wrong. It wasn't 60% increase. It was 58. That 2% made me feel so much better. But yeah, look, inflationary price rises, I have no issues with whatsoever. 9 out of 10 times, we ignore them. We aren't worried about them. Like, I think the 0 price increase is going to cost my firm £18 a month. Now, is it worth me emailing those clients and telling them I'm putting their price up, having that debate with them, they're not doing the admin, or do I just take £18 a month as a hit? I know which one I'm going to do. But yeah, the Dext one was just beyond that. So because I'd kind of gotten the insight the week before, I'd already come up with a plan of action. So I'd decided with my team, anyone that wants to stay on Dext needs to pay to use Dext. We haven't charged before for Dext. I've always seen it as a cost of running the business, because it saves me a fortune in admin. Now, the new price increase, though, just wasn't sustainable. So we said, look, clients will hate change. So they've got 2 options. They can either change and go to auto entry in our case, and we will foot that bill, or they can stay where they are and they pay for the privilege of staying where they are to avoid change. And when I was looking at the maths, we pay a fixed price for the amount of clients we have using Dext, and it worked out at £3.10p a client a month. So that's affordable for us to fit. We can cover that. To up it to £7.20 or something suddenly became on scale unaffordable. So then I also looked at the amount of documents we put through Dext. We were paying about 14p a document. So when I looked at auto entry to see their normal price is 14p a document at the scale we were putting documents through, it's like, well, I've looked at it in the past and thought it's about the same price, but I don't get the KPIs and the Dext insights for that price. So it was better to stay with Dext. Whereas now I'm looking at it going, well, I'm getting the KPIs, but I'm not paying that much for the KPIs. So off to auto entry. So we put an email out last week to all of our clients, and the overall feedback is 80% of clients have said we will move. We can't afford £10 a month plus VAT or whatever we're going to charge for that software. Like, clients are in a time of economic crisis. They're all struggling. Purse strings are tight. Banks aren't lending. We're already putting our prices up for our own services, to then turn around to them and say, sorry, our software's increased by 62% or 58% as it transpired to be. We can't foot that. You're going to have to. We had to give them a second option to maintain the status quo as best we could. And yeah, 80% of so far have come back saying, yeah, we'll move, please. So yeah, I think it shows the lack of affordability out there in the economy at the moment for price increasing. Not that I think you should avoid increasing your service prices because of that. We've all got to foot increased wages, etc. So we need to foot that with a price increase. But to do your own service increase and then a software increase on top, it just doesn't add up at all, really. So I mean, that LinkedIn post, I don't know how many impressions you need for it to classify it as viral, but so far 27,700 and something impressions. So it was a popular post, and a lot of other people I've spoken to have posted as well. They've got 18, 19, 20,000 impressions. It was a popular topic last week, to say the least. So how are you feeling up there in your ivory tower, Aaron?
I do feel so. We have a couple of Dext clients. We're in a bit of a unique situation. I think this is one where maybe more people should look at trying to adopt this, where we've said it before on the show, right? For us at Bofix, when we issue clients their equivalent to Dext or whatever we're going to put in their OCR technology, they're dealing with bills technology, they're dealing with receipts technology, we offer them a bills at Bofix domain. So the idea is that we then own that, right? So they get jblogs at bills.bofix, then we can decide where that's going to. Is it going to Dext, auto entry, receipt capture by QuickBooks, or anything else? And if someone new comes along, we'll push them to there. So for me, it's always been less about kind of the pain for the client, because for us, we can just turn that off and turn that on as much as we want to. I feel like this is just really, this is where Dext has really harmed their relationships with accountants in the way that they did it. We'll go to some comments in a minute, but I feel like this is one where they've just completely dropped the ball. And it's not the first time. They've got precedent for this, right? Like the whole idea of they went from receipt bank to Dext overnight without zero communication about it, and just this surprise announcement kind of shows what's going on with them at the moment. It just seems like they're very much in this position where they are, is it arrogance? I don't know what it is, but they are sat there as, we'll just do what we want to do. People will follow us and go along. And for most cases, yeah, I can kind of see where the logic is. But for those two incidences there, changing their name, I mean, first of all, when they changed the name, did they not think to check Urban Dictionary at the time? Was that not a sensible move? And we think back to We Have Cool Friends. Like half of the people we've had on, or it feels like We Had Cool Friends, used to work at Dext or Receipt Capture, right? And they all say the same things. Like everyone was saying the same things about the announcement of changing the name, for example. And I just feel like they feel like they're almost untouchable. It's like, well, we're going to make this change, and it's going through there. And yes, they again, let's not beat around the bush. Like if it was an unsustainable model they were running, then they had to make the change. That's fine, right? But there has to be a better way of communicating. There has to be a better way of bringing the people along with them, like bringing their partners along. Like, could they not have been able to put people on grandfathered accounts for X amount of time? If you were given a 2-year grace or a year grace or whatever the phrase was going to be, it'd be much easier for you to manage, right? And then you could also make a concise and look at those decisions and work with them on their way. Maybe you'll then start unlocking more value out of them, and maybe you'll be able to communicate with your clients about where the value is coming from. And with a time, you could do that, right? But just almost overnight, which seems to be what's going on here, then we have, as partners, we have no chance of doing that. And they're not taking into other value that people are bringing to them. Like the advocates of Dext have been huge, and it's been one of the reasons why it's been so successful. Well, I know every single advocate of them was saying the same thing as you were. There's no special treatment here, and I'm not saying that because you've got a big following you should get special treatment, but they should be keeping those advocates sweet, right? Working with those advocates, like you said, like the fact that you weren't able to talk to your business manager. I've seen the same comments coming through. No one was able to talk to the business manager because they were all in the same boat and all being swamped at the same time. It just feels like it's a difficult way for you as partners of them to have anything but being annoyed, and frustrated, and they're not the sort of feelings you want out of partners, right? Like that's the worst possible solution you could have. Let's just quickly jump on to the comments. We've got Nick saying 60 to 60, sorry, 58%, Nick. Let's make sure we get this right. Increase is lucky. I've got multiple practices who have increased of over 400%. I appreciate they're using more license than they need to, but even when removing the unnecessary license, it's still tripling over 1,500 more. And the ironic thing here is like those 400% increases are probably the reason why Dext has had to move to this new model, right? They've had to kind of go into having this new model, and it's going to be part and parcel of it. Probably wasn't sustainable for them. But again, it's the way they've worked and moved with it. And they should have tackled this better. Nick also goes to say the irony of the transparency announcement is that those practices had major issues with thinking they're getting screwed compared to the practice next door.
And that's the problem. So they launched this. They've known about it for at least 2 weeks. A week before the launch, because some account managers were tipping off their favorites. Now, the fact that I wasn't tipped off doesn't bother me. I've got my own ways of finding things out. I don't care about that bit. But to launch a transparent pricing, and because I asked my account manager, why has this not been put on the website? The information wasn't ready to go on the website. Marketing didn't want it available on the website until it goes live, which is the 1st of November. I said, yeah, cool. I'm not a marketing expert, but all you had to do was put a banner saying new prices from the 1st of November. So people can see it. That's transparent. by the end of the day, there was a article, blog, whatever you want to call it, on the Dext website, which Dext was circulating around and posting onto people. So like they posted on my LinkedIn feed saying, thank you for your feedback. We want to acknowledge this. Here's an article about it and with the pricing. So they scrambled that back together quick enough. So yeah, they've just dropped the ball completely in the way they've communicated this. And
Yeah, because
that's the bit that annoys me the most. Like if we communicate with our clients that way and turn around to our clients and said, we're putting your prices up, get in touch with us if you want to find out what we're putting them up by, they wouldn't tolerate it.
yeah. And like if they, for transparency reason, if they had like a tool on the website where you could put in your number of clients, put in what service you want, and it'll churn out a price for you, that's transparency, right? That tooling matrix, that tool idea would be the way of being transparent. And if that's what their true aim of this was, then surely they needed some sort of tool. But that wasn't even the case, right? Again, it wasn't until we had the conversation with your practice manager or your account manager you're able to even know what your prices were going to. You're just being scaremongered by 60% and 400% numbers and all these sort of things being going over the internet. You're not being told really what that or have a chance of doing it. And also I feel like, you know, the irony here is that this is one of the things, if we go to like, I don't know, you James Ashford's and all the pricing gurus out there, they'll say that actually this is quite a good tactic for accountants, right? If you're wanting to make a more profitable business, then you do alienate all your low payers and you concentrate on your big ones. And like we've been like almost force fed this for a while, right? And it's, you know, you either accept that and you implement it, or you try and work around it and try and build a business elsewhere. But we're always aware of this idea, and it seems like that's exactly what Dex has done, right? Let's alienate anyone not using it and go for those big boys.
When I'm paying £1,000 a month, I don't feel like I'm a small payer. Like I just don't.
No.
So
no, and you shouldn't feel like, but it almost feels like that's the angle they're going for. Let's make it so that we can, like you
what
said,
they've really done is they're punishing those of us that have taken advantage of the grandfather contracts that we were on. So
yeah,
if I acquire a new firm, I scrap their Dext license and I pour them all onto mine because I've got one license for unlimited clients. Like that's not my, it's my prerogative to take advantage of the pricing model they offer me. It's their job to make sure their pricing model is scalable and sustainable. In this case, they've obviously realized actually what we decided to price as a method a few years ago isn't sustainable. And now we've got to change it. Whereas if they'd thought this through and priced it like basically every other software in the market had, either by credits per document or by clients, like they've always been the outlier, which has in theory delivered great value. But there's a reason everyone else is priced differently, because they all knew the Dext model wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. 100% agree. Let's just make sure comments are up to date.
Yep.
Kirsty is saying auto entry. She absolutely loves it as well. So advocate for auto entry and saying good luck with it. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll have a catch up on another video about how that, or another episode how that's going. Paul says, I have one client on Xero whose previously accountant used auto entry. We switched to HubDoc for an auto entry for supplier statements only. Roughly 250 invoices come in. Okay, that sounds good. You'll have to let us know how that's going. The rest of our clients use QB Receipt Snap because they use it so infrequently. It's no cost effective to use AEL Dext. It's pretty much the same as us, to be honest. We have a couple of outliers on auto entry or Dext, and most of them go through QuickBooks receipt capture. Dext has lost touch of any sort of a reality, and I suspect their price increase of this level has been caused by MTD for self-assessment being delayed as they launched their solution a few weeks before it was leaked. I completely understand that comment there, Matthew. I just don't know. Like, from my point of view, Dex was always in that very strange situation anyway. Like, I can understand for the advocates who use them why they absolutely loved it. Like, their suite of tools are the only ones on the market, right? They have best in class in terms of receipt capture, in terms of accuracy and auto publishing and getting your KPIs and stuff like that. They've got best in class in terms of getting KPIs and understanding what that's going to be, and their Dext precision and all that sort of stuff. Love it. Their Greenback or Dext commerce, pretty much best in class. It's kind of debate of which one is, but they're up there, right? They're in the conversation about best in class, right? But what were they going to do next? And an MTD ITSA for me, and then moving into this really weird product. And I feel like that was just a big misstep. Like, that product didn't sit well. No one could understand the actual use case for it, especially at that price point. Like, it didn't make sense of what they were trying to build. So I get that they've had a bit of development into that, and they've got to recoup it, but it was a misstep anyway. Like for me, I'm surprised that their next step wasn't, let's alienate all this. My expectation for them was to bring something new to the market, something that we would have to come on to. And it almost feels like for me that Dext, their ecosystem, should be driven by the receipt capture, because it is best in practice, or at least it's, arguably best in practice is there. And then the rest of the ecosystem should have been these nice little bits that people decide should we go on. Because I suspect that a lot of these conversations we're having here is a lot of people having part of the solution they weren't using, or at least didn't get the most use out of. And actually, if you paired it back to just receipt capture, probably isn't as painful. And that's probably the difference between a 60% user and a 400% increase, right? Because of the value that they're getting out of the ecosystem. But I just feel like Dex really needs to bring something with. If they could have done this conversation and, done the conversation better in terms of communication, but also brought in some, right, here's some cool new piece of tech that is also going to be involved, the pill becomes less difficult to swallow, right? But they're just resting on the fact that they've got this status as best in class, and they feel like that's all they need to do, and everyone else will just follow. So
I think we're also falling victim now to the disaster that is the software industry in general. Like, if you look at Dext, I don't believe they've ever produced a profit.
Yes.
Yet they've got multi-millions of pounds worth of investment, and those investors want a return on their investment. You don't just, they're not donations; they are investments. They've got to have a return on those investments, and that kind of weighed into my decision as to where to go from Dext. Because when you look at Dext, yes, they're investment heavy. They don't make a profit. You look at Xero, they're investment heavy. They've not made a profit. Whereas you look at QuickBooks and Sage, they basically print their own money. Whether it's Sage printing their own money in the medium enterprise industry that supplements their small business side, or whether it's America printing money for QuickBooks with TurboTax and stuff like that. They aren't reliant on investors. They've not got to keep the investors as happy as Dext do, or someone like that. Because all it takes for Dext to go under is one of their big investors to go, I'm not liking the financial odds here. I'm not getting a return on my investment. I'm off. I'm selling up. And that's it. They're in trouble if there's no one to go out there and buy it. And who would go out and buy it when they've not delivered financial performance that they were looking for? So, that is part of the reason I've gone to auto entry, because it's owned by Sage, and I know it's backed. And, to be fair to auto entry, they were completely open and transparent when I made the call. I put a call in and said, look, I'm hearing these rumors. I need about 5,500 credits a month. That's not on your website. Can you tell me how much that's going to be? They said, yeah, it's this. It's like, cool. Okay. And they said, now we need to make you aware, we are going to be announcing a fee increase in 2 to 3 months' time. And that increase is X, I think less than 10%. I said, I've no issue with you putting your prices up. The fact that you've warned me before you've even got the sale out of me, not many software companies or anyone out there would go, you can sign up, but be aware these prices are going to change in a couple of months. They'll get you signed up and then go, oh, well, that's unfortunate. So yeah, I do think a lot of it is overinvestment and underperformance. And in Xero's case, we haven't seen huge price increases, but we saw mass redundancies to try and offset that issue. In Dex's case, rather than making mass redundancies, they've done a huge remodel of their pricing. I'm not sure they're going to end up any better off for it.
No, yeah, unfortunately, like you said, they're at the the thing of what their investors want, and yeah, the investors, and it's not like they've not had time either, is it? Like, how long have Receipt Bank been around for now? Is 10 plus years, is it? It must be. It feels like that, right? So it's not like they're a new blossoming startup that, oh, okay, we'll from an investor's point of view, oh, there's going to be, it's going to change overnight sort of thing. This won't change overnight, and if anything, now really they're gonna be on recovery mode, unfortunately. So yeah, it's
also, that's the reason, like at Client Engager, we've not taken investment.
Yeah,
if we wanted to go out and do investment, we could do it, but that gives another stakeholder, another influencer, and we want our community to be the main influencer. We don't want investors telling us what we will and won't develop.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we glossed over it, but let's just quickly go over the zero price increases. So no, they're not massively significant, but there is an increase there, right? There is a pain there to be had. We've already mentioned.
I think it was the timing that.
Yeah,
so if I was a zero only firm or something, I've got 9 clients on zero, so it's not an issue for me. But if I was a zero only firm and I just literally the day before emailed all my clients saying, we've got a problem with Dext, they've put their prices up by X, we need to do something. If I'm then sat there going, oh, I'm now going to have to put another email out, that's 2 in 2 days, telling zero clients that their fees are going up because of zero.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good. That's 2 painful conversations to have in a very short period of time. That's the thing. I was sat there going, oh, that timing's horrific. Like, to announce all of that in one go.
And we've spoke about this before, like you've mentioned it there with redundancy, zero in a bit of a like survival mode. That's over dramatizing it, but they are at the moment, right? They're not looking to massively invest in XYZ, that or innovate or anything else. They have a very good product, and they're making sure that they can turn the ship around and be sustainable going forward. Get that. I am confused about some of these price increases. So just having a look at it, Starter and Standard seem to have a modest increase. Ultimate has a little bit more, and their premium has had a huge increase from £36 to £42 per month. I don't know what premium brings to the table that warrants that, but it just seems weird that they've targeted that one. So I don't know if that's the most popular one and they've just targeted it and that's the one they're going to get the most return out of. But ultimately, it just seems like that's quite a nasty one. Now, with Zero's point of view and everything else, most of their increases were just inflationary. It does make sense. But again, is there something new coming to premium to justify that increase? I don't think there is. We've been looking at the updates to Zero lately, and there hasn't been many. So I'm not sure what warrants the increase to premium itself. I think the rest of them are absolutely fine. But it'd be interesting if there's anyone out there from a Zero point of view that can let us know, who's a Zero user, can say, oh, they've given us access to XYZ as part of it, then yeah, do let us know, because I feel like that's a bit of a strange one that they've attacked premium in such a way. What I will say about Zero though, like how to kind of minimum or max or way to get that round from a client's point of view is, I think this again puts into perspective how you charge and how you pass that cost to your client. Either you're in that position where you absorb it all and it's part of your fees, and your overall fees are just going to have to either hopefully have already increased or going to have to increase accordingly. Or if you do pass that cost to the client, I think it's just the way that you present it on the invoice. For us, what we do is we will tell the client, and we're very upfront about it. We will put the price of that cost of the price of the software that they would be paying on the invoice itself, and then will be a separate line item to discount it. And then we're in control of the discount, right? So in this case for us, these price increases don't really affect us too much. We will communicate with our client, we'll let them know, we'll give them options, we'll tell them, but ultimately their invoice will increase by this amount next time round. Now we could choose to increase or the discount accordingly, and we could, have that conversation with them. But ultimately, we know that we're not going to be affected by third-party prices going forward, and we've had that in our T's and C's since day one. And I do feel like people should be looking. I think this is a really good indication of, looking at your pricing model, looking at how you charge your clients, and just look at ways in which you can make it easier for yourself, or at least more of a sustainable model for yourself, so that you're not the one that's going to suffer if these prices increase, because they're going to keep coming, right? We've seen it. QuickBooks had a price increase not long ago. Xero's had a price increase now. I assume Sage would be doing what, like, we're in an industry where,
Sage is doing. They've semi-announced it. They've warned people it's coming. I think it's up to 10% increase in places. Yeah, it's inflationary, which is fine. I accept that.
Exactly. But again, if your pricing model is that you're passing that cost to the client, I think this is just a time for people to be looking at how they pass that cost. Like, what's the mechanism for that? Because for me, like, these price increases here, this is going to take me X amount of time to communicate with the client, X amount of time to have conversations with the client. All right, they're all knowns. That's going to be however long that's going to take. Annoying, but that's just part and parcel of the business. But the actual price increase itself is going to take me, 45 seconds to implement, and then it's done. Right. And I think that's the difference, right? And if you can be in a position where you've got automation and everything else on your side, where the actual administration of the price increase is as simplified as possible, I think that's something definitely to be looking at, and maybe a lesson to be learned going forward on it. And then Jodie comes in and basically says and agrees with yourself. Client engager, you want software that is client focused, not investor focused. Couldn't agree more. Anything more on this topic before we move on, Jan?
No, I'm conscious we are 40 minutes in and we've not done our sponsor ad yet. And I know there's another topic that, there's technically two more that you need to talk about, but one's going to be getting juicy and bogged down again. So let's move on.
Definitely. So we are proud to be sponsored by Employment Hero. So if you don't know, we are running a little bit of a campaign at the moment. And myself, Johann, and producer Lizzie are all independently creating ourselves some fancy little ads for our ad roll. And the idea is we want you guys as the community to come along and let us know which did best, who did best. It was mine, who was 2 weeks ago now. Was that the best? Was Lizzie's that we saw last week? Was that the best? Or is Johann's going to be the best ad roll that we could think of? And the idea is we'll all independently go off, come up with our own ideas, and we'll present it to you guys. Johann, are you ready to roll yours?
I might be a few weeks behind. I can't imagine why. I had planned last week to do it, but then I have to rebuild my whole blooming software stack because of Dext's decision. So no, I'm behind. So shall we play another one of Lizzie's many options? Yes.
Thankfully, producer Lizzie came with not one, not two, but we won't say the final number, but plenty of different options. So for this week, we're going to play option 2 of Lizzie's, which basically increases her chances of winning this. And as if you remember from last week, and if not, do go and watch last week's, Lizzie's kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works. If she wins, there's something that she wants to bring to the table that comes with her win as well. So from the community point of view, we're hoping you choose either mine or Johann's, because we don't want Lizzie winning this going forward. But here was her ad, number 2, and let us know in the comments what you think of it. Ask the Accountant brings you Employment Hero. Looking for a hassle-free way to manage your payroll? Look no further. Introducing Employment Hero's payroll software, designed to save you time and simplify your payroll process. Say goodbye to manual calculations and enjoy the benefits of automated payroll. Using this intuitive platform, you can effortlessly pay your people, ensuring accuracy and efficiency with every paycheck. And that's not all. Employment Hero's payroll software offers real-time information capabilities, providing you with up-to-date insights and smarter decision-making. Take control of your workforce planning and stay ahead of the game, all in one simple place. So why waste valuable time on complex payroll processes when Employment Hero can streamline it for you? Don't miss out. Visit employmenthero.com to discover more about their payroll software and revolutionize your payroll management today. Okay, I'm more shocked than anyone. I was not expecting my voice on that.
I was about to say, A, how is this independent when you did the voiceover? B, that was an amateur doing the voiceover compared to last week's. And C, I think last week's was better.
Yeah, I agree. I'm shocked. I think that's AI being put in there or something. No, great work there, Lizzie, producer Lizzie, on that one. And as always, thank you so much to Employment Hero. I think, like, jokes aside, the ad really does show how that software, it really is one that we both are big advocates of, and we got more to talk to you about that coming up. But yeah, thank you very much, Employment Hero, for the sponsorship. Make sure if you want to know anything about Employment Hero, well, use the links and everything that we've got, and we will then moving on. So our next topic is all about a brand new solution that's come along from our friends over at Bright. Now, they have a dream, they have an opportunity to come along and build a ecosystem for accountants, and you can see that with their recent acquisition. So anyone who doesn't know, Bright is the people who bought out Accounting Manager. So my feeling is, for people who are out there, when you look at Bright, the two outstanding ones there are going to be Accounting Manager, that probably people are aware of, or Bright Payroll. And if you think about it, the people behind Bright Payroll are called Bright, and they've gone on their little acquisition run at the moment. And their aim, their final goal, is to build an ecosystem for accountants where they've got Practice Manager at the top with Accounting Manager. They've got Bright Payroll running it. They've got a solution called Surf, which isn't really UK based, but they've got that solution if they want to. They've acquired BTC, which is an account production software. And they also have now Bright Propose, and a new one to the family, Bright CoSec. So let me just read you what Bright CoSec is. It's a brand new look. It's called Bright CoSec, and it's a go-to platform for seamless corporate governance management. As part of our ongoing commitment to providing top-notch solutions for accounting professions, we have rebranded our company secretary software to align with Bright brand. So hello to Bright CoSec. It also offers a comprehensive company secretarial solution that caters to your specific needs of accounting professions like yourself. So basically, it's a whole solution where you have the ability to be able to create minutes, do company confirmation statement. Basically, anything that involves actually filing to Company's House can be done through Bright CoSec. So it's a brand new solution. It definitely something that the ecosystem as a whole needed. It's kind of a gap that was there. It was a pain point that if you were a Bright only user, you would have struggled to be able to done without without third-party software. So it's definitely something that is needed. We'll talk about the solution in a minute and my thoughts on it. But yeah, and before we go any further, what do you think to this announcement? Is this from the, if you look at it from the Bright Group point of view, is this a good or a bad announcement?
It's a logical one.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I've not looked at this yet. I saw the announcement last week. I've not really looked into it. I'm going to go on an assumption here and say it's not really well connected to Accountancy Manager and well linked like you would expect. But that's based on what I've seen in their execution of Bright proposal. So I might be wrong. You'll have to correct me. But yeah, I just feel like they're trying to roll stuff out at the moment without really executing it very well. And so I use Inform Direct. I've never come across a bit of software that can just instantly make company administration as simple, easy, and cost-effective, to be fair to them, as Inform Direct does. Express confirmation statements, easy to update shareholdings, issue share certificates, change details. The moment you do a confirmation statement, it automatically generates minutes, board meeting stuff, everything that it needs. Like, if anything, we aren't using those documents enough. Like, we've just started making sure we put all of those into the client portal so you can see how much work's involved in confirmation statements and stuff. So yeah, it's got a hard act to follow. So how good is it, Aaron?
Well, this is where, for me, are starting to show, because Bright CoSec is powered by a solution called what do they call it? The CoSec House. Now, I might need to do a bit more investigation of what's happening with the with the CoSec House themselves. They're talking about rebranding and everything else. So maybe they're trying to really push down the Bright. Maybe there's some sort of like pre-acquisition coming in. I don't know. Like, this is all me like speculating here, so don't worry about it. But what I know from the CoSec House is that I've used their solution, or I currently use their solution as part of the KPM package. So part of their solution. So KPM, another accounts production practice management ecosystem that me and I know are advocates of. We spoke about it before. Fine piece of software, no problem with it, but they do offer a company secretarial solution. Now, Johann's already mentioned he uses Inform Direct, has never touched it. I, though, just for ease, we thought let's just use
I have looked at KPM's company sec stuff, and it was nowhere near as breezy and easy as Inform Direct. And within an hour of digging around and playing, well, no, it's not even that. 30 minutes, I wrote it off, basically.
You knew you made the right choice, right? Yeah. And ultimately, from a KPM's point of view and bringing that in, like KPM itself isn't the most intuitive piece of software. It's very good, but it's not the most intuitive. There is a barrier to entry in terms of learning and understanding it. KPM's CoSec solution, which is the same as the Bright CoSec solution, is one of the worst pieces of software I have ever used. To this day,
there goes a sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah. It is just one of those where it's so clunky and so difficult to get your head around and move around. I've had training on it. I've gone down and done the webinars for it, and it's that one of those where it's one of those where the team will constantly come to me and apologize. But first one, say, Aaron, I know you've told me this before, but how do I do X, Y, Z? To the point where now most of the time I just get it done myself. It's one of those where it's so difficult to teach and explain, and because you have to follow certain steps and move it through, and you can understand, right? Like, it is a complex solution. This isn't something that can just be, if it was so easy, you wouldn't need a piece of software to do it, right? Like, if you didn't, we're relying on the software to make sure we're doing it right. I just feel like this particular piece of software is very, very clunky, unfortunately, which isn't the case of, like you've already said, for Inform Direct. This is where my problem comes in, because from a Bright point of view, if I go back and I move myself back, what was it, 12 months ago, whenever it was, when I sat down a conversation with them, I was definitely sold, because I'm an advocate of accounting manager. I like the software. I appreciate that Bright Payroll, we don't use it, but Bright Payroll is a big player in the market and has been something that has but so when you kind of combine those two together, makes sense. When they tell me what their ecosystem ideas are going to be, I'm all up for it. Like the idea that you file a set of accounts and your practice management solution will automatically be updated. That absolute chef's kiss, right? Their idea that you add a new payroll to your payroll solution and your invoice that's provided to you by the practice management solution will automatically be updated, right? Those sort of things, like, it's the dream. Then you look at reality and you see what's happened with their ecosystem and what's come through. I mean, they acquired a solution called BTC, which me and you, we have had a lot of, we're in a privileged position where we get a lot of betas, we get a lot of opportunities to see software before it's launched. We have a lot of opportunities to, give our opinion on software. And I like to think that the reason we keep getting asked back is because we give good feedback, and feedback that's going to help the solution go, in a certain direction, and hopefully find gaps in it or find pain points. And, that's what we do. And part of that means that we will both spend a lot of time giving our feedback, right?
Yep.
So I was given the opportunity to go and see BTC, their new cloud solution, and go into there. And it was the first time that I've ever had a truly negative piece of feedback. And that negative piece of feedback went nowhere. And I spent a lot of time putting together this, and I've had zero feedback on that feedback. And what the conclusion I've taken from that is, because I'm not a BTC power user, which fair enough, I'm not, and don't really understand it. My negativity was because I was seeing it from a non-BTC user and criticizing basically BTC itself, not necessarily the cloud functionality. And from what I can tell, if you loved BTC, the old software, then basically they're replicating that in the cloud, and they've done a really good job of replicating it. That's what they're wanting to get the feedback for, right? Or at least they want to know how good a job they've done of bringing it over, what the problems are, what hasn't worked, anything else. When my feedback was, this software is terrible, basically, and I wouldn't use it because of X, Y, Z, then they, that wasn't the feedback they were looking for. But it comes back down to then with this new Bright CoSec, the way that they've done the Bright Propose, which they kind of misstepped a little bit. I'm just a little bit worried. I'm not a little bit, I'm very worried about what that ecosystem is going to be now going forward, because they sold a dream, right? They sold this ecosystem dream, same as what Sage has sold. Like, they've got this ecosystem, and it feels like every time we get sold this ecosystem dream, then we look into a little bit deeper. It's not quite the dream that we're wanting, right? And it comes back to a lot where we talk about in this podcast of how sometimes what we are, what we do incorrectly is that we will go along and we will buy software based on the dream, not based on what's actually in front of us. And I feel like this is another step where, if I'm completely honest, I'm worried about Bright's steps going forward. As an advocate of Bright, I'm very worried about what's going on, because I feel like these acquisitions they're making and these partnerships they're making are being made within a bubble, and they're not really looking at the community and going, what do you guys want and what would be right for you going forward? It's going to be a difficult one for you to have an opinion on this one, Johann, with your allegiances everywhere. But what's your opinion on this solution going forward?
I just don't see how they're going to challenge the likes of Inform Direct on efficiency, functionality, usability, or price. And unless they're throwing it in as freebie into Accountancy Manager and all of that stack, then I don't see a huge uptake for it. But I'm not in that community, so I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be I think this is one we'll have to put more time to it, as I'm just looking at the clock, and we'll definitely deep dive into it a bit more, and hopefully. But I did reach out to Accountancy just to wonder if with this new solution, does that mean we lose because at the moment they've got an option to file company confirmation statements directly in product. Now they've told me that that's not going away. Am I convinced of that? I don't know. It's going to be a difficult one. Right. Okay. Let's first of all just go through our notes before we go through our comments, because we've got some comments to go through. Just to put it out there, just so people know, we have officially been announced as the podcast studio for Accountex North. Now, we're going to talk about this more in next week's one, and we'll talk about what that means and what we expect. But it is great news. We're really, really excited for that one. We've got a lot happening in Accountex North, with a social media takeover as well, for the wonderful guys at Employment Hero. So yeah, if you haven't got tickets for for Accountants North, sponsored by Employment Hero, it's not, but yeah, let's do that. Yeah, please do think about coming along, because we're going to be making sure that you guys listening, we're going to make sure you're involved as well to the podcast. We want as many people as we can. We're going to be there all day on a stand, looking forward to listening and giving you opportunity to listen to live podcasts and getting you guys involved as well. So I think it's going to be fun for everyone. Another quick one as well. Do keep an eye out for Friday, because on Friday we are releasing We Have Cool Friends, and we've got an amazing episode. We've got Peter coming along, talking all about the world of insolvency. And trust me, before this episode, I had no time for a podcast about insolvency. After this episode, I'm looking forward to the next time we get to speak to him. So yeah, really excited for that one. Quickly going through the comments though, as we're running short on time. Start at the bottom. Paul says, with APIs and how different accountants are, is a closed ecosystem really the way to go? I'd rather have a firm app stack letting me choose the products and levels I need to fit my firm. Prior to AI, I was completely with you, Paul, and it was all about APIs. But the problem is with APIs is sometimes they fail and it gives us issues and problems. My firm can definitely attain to that one. And the other one is with AI, we're kind of going to get forced into a closed ecosystem anyway, because if we want the benefits of AI, we need that AI to have access to everything. But it's a great conversation topic for another day though, Paul. We'll definitely bring that one in. Lee says currently choosing between Verifone and some.
There's
Okay.
one
There's another. Yeah. We'll come back to that. Matthew says inform direct all the way. Big advocate for inform direct. Kirsty says shocked. It's hardly Liz as if it's your voice. Preferred last week. So maybe that's the one we push forward as Liz's version then, just to sabotage
I'm
it.
pleased to say I haven't sold out to do with voiceovers of anyone's ads.
Paul, I'd love to put your brains on employment here. Yep, definitely. But also, we've got some content on its way. So do keep an eye on that one, including us playing a round of golf, which is definitely exciting. And hello, Lee. Lee asked the question. Hello, I'm a hobby wood turner and will be doing the odd Saturday craft markets and weekly markets before Christmas. What sort of card machine do you recommend for a low turnover seasonal business, Lee? Great question there, Lee. I've done lots of videos at the moment about card machines. It all really depends on what your software is. You didn't say if you were QuickBooks or Xero. If you're QuickBooks, then Zettle have a partnership with them, which I highly recommend having a look at that one. There may be news coming about that partnership soon, but I'll keep my mouth shut. And if you're with the world of Xero, then actually Square has a really, really good integration. Now, have a look at my videos. I've done loads of videos on them. For you personally, I'd look at a terminal because that means that you're going to have both the internet and it all in one device. It's definitely the way to go. Have a look at the terminals I've done on my channel and on the Bofix channel. Have a look at them. But I would highly recommend looking at SumUp as well. They'll work with everything. They've done a really good job at making it so the likes of you have there. And if that's one of your considerations, I think you're already making the right choice, if I'm honest. I think the SumUp would be perfect for what you have. But there are some quirks of it. So again, look at my recent video on SumUp. Oh, and if you've not got software yet, well, this could be a good way of looking at it. So maybe you look at yourself getting a QuickBooks and the Zettle, QuickBooks and SumUp together. That could work quite well for you. But yeah, I've done loads of videos on it. Just apologies, we ran out of time on it, but then maybe that could be a good topic for a future show. So thank you for that one. Johann, any final bits before we wrap up with time falling away from us?
Nothing from me. I think we've covered it all as big topics this week, but I'm looking forward to coming back to talk about the podcast studio at Accountex, because that's going to be a fantastic experience where we're going to be able to really involve as many of our listeners that are there on the day as possible, because we want to do lots of interviews with our listeners, don't we? So keep your eye out for that.
Yeah, Accountex North is going to be absolutely brilliant. And anytime, again, have a quick look at the videos, but also keep an eye on the show, because we'll bring it up as another topic going forward. It's an evolving door at the moment with card machines. And the last thing for us to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming along, putting your comments in. As always, they've been absolutely brilliant, really add to the show. If you are listening back to us on our podcast services that go live on your podcast service of choice on 5 a.m. on Wednesdays, then why not think about coming to joining us live? That way you get the opportunity to talk just like we've had all of our people in today, and keep us honest. Tell us what we've done right, tell us what we've done wrong, and keep us on top of everything. And that's a wrap. That's been a juicy episode. We're definitely going to be coming back to some of these topics in future episodes. I think your view on auto entry will be a very interesting one. I think figuring out what Dext do next is also going to be an interesting one. And I'll try and get as much information I can about Bright and their Bright CoSec deal as much as possible, and see if they'll see what they have to say about their view going forward. But that is it. That is the end of today's show. Johann, what have you got for the rest of the week? Anything exciting planned?
Nothing during the week, just lots of client meetings and stuff, just being normal. Testing the functionality of the new office, and then I will be out enjoying the Fringe again over the weekend. What about yourself?
Wow, this is the first week where there hasn't been an update to Client Engager. This is one for the diary.
No, there is updates coming out on Wednesday.
Okay, I thought maybe this was one for the diary, but yeah, one for the history.
No, there's updates coming out on Wednesday.
No, that's good. Good to hear. Good to hear. For me, very similar. Just a very busy week with clients, and got some other bits that we need to get cleaned up because I've got some crazy weeks coming up. So trying to keep on top of it. And thank you to you, and thank you to the rest of the team, rest of the people putting through, Paul, and everyone else who's been commenting. Thank you for you guys. Already announced was the for the update.
Paul, there's more. There's more updates to the updates that I've announced.
There's more. There is more. Whoa. Exciting times had by all. Thank you, everybody. It's been a great episode as always. it's all thanks to you guys. So we will see you all in the next week. Bye for now.
Goodbye.